Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is cinderxblocks and you are watching yet another speed build. This is a very exciting build for me. This was something that was very much a learning curve, very much a let me try things that I've never tried before in build mode in The Sims 4. So this build, as you can see from the title, is 100, we'll say 50% inspired by the house that is featured in the Pet Sematary film from 1989, so the original Pet Sematary. Myself and my boyfriend just randomly started watching Pet Sematary the other night. I'd actually never seen it before. Well, that's kind of a lie. I had seen up to, I can't remember exactly how far I got, but when I was very young, under 6 years old, I remember me and my parents tried to watch it, and I was just completely terrified by, I'm guessing probably when they buried the pet first or this, I don't know, whatever. It scared me to death when I was a little kid, so I never actually finished it. We also did not even finish it now, so do not ask me anything about my opinions about Pet Sematary because I have not seen or read the book or seen all of the film, so I don't have a concrete opinion about it. The idea is pretty sick, but otherwise I was just inspired by the house. So this house is located in somewhere, I forget where. It is a real house, obviously. Someone actually lives here. So there's a exposition shot at the start of the film that just shows the outside, the exterior of the house, and I was like, oh my gosh, let me try to make this in The Sims. So here we are. And I say 50% inspired by because the outside of the house is as close to what I could do to make the house in The Sims. Obviously, there's certain restrictions in The Sims 4 build mode that you can't actually do everything that you would see in the real world. But so the outside is as close to the real house as I could make it. And as in terms of the inside, it's, whatever. It's very simified, I would say. It's very much just like any other house that you would make in The Sims, except for the outside is just inspired by a film set. So that's kind of the idea for this build. So there's a lot of things that I had to do that I've not really done before, at least not very seriously done before, and that includes using terrain tools. I am not a terrain tool expert. I am no Kate Emerald, that is for sure. But I did have a lot of fun trying to do this kind of lower basement that's can be seen from the outside. It ends up being a garage. As if you are familiar with the Pet Sematary house, you will probably, hopefully, see very, very uncanny resemblance, or I don't know, whatever. You will definitely see a resemblance to the actual house. I kept looking at side-by-sides between the finished house and the real house, and to me, they look very similar. They're very much in the same vein of each other. Of course, like I've mentioned, you can't do everything in the real world that you can, or you can't do everything in The Sims that you can in the real world. So I did what I could, and I think for me it was a success. So, but yeah, other than terrain tools, one of the big things, which you'll see at the very end of this video, because I had to cut it this way to make it make the most sense, is the roofing. So in the movie, there is, I don't actually know how the structure of the house on the inside is for the real house. So this was all just my own idea. I just wanted the outside to look the same. That was the main point of this. Obviously, the landscaping is not the same at all. I do add trees and plants and stuff, which is very scarce in the actual house, but I just wanted it to look like a Sims build and not just look very, just like there wasn't anything outside. So I do some landscaping that is not actually on the actual property of the real house, but that's fine with me. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think it just adds to it and also just makes it more, kind of brings that house just into The Sims, which I think is a very important aspect of when you're trying to create something in The Sims that exists in the real world, is kind of to mesh the two together in a way that doesn't necessarily take away from either. So you kind of still get the vibe, but it's still The Sims 4, so you can't really forget about that. Yeah, so the other main thing, like I mentioned, is the roofing. You will see at the end, I'll talk about it more then, but the roofing, if I had to guess how many times I had to do the roofing and redo the roofing, I would say at least 6 times probably I had to do and redo the roofing because it just was not getting how I wanted it. So as you're seeing right now, the house is currently 2 floors. 2 floors plus what ends up being the garage, so 3 floors technically. But in the real house, it doesn't really look like a second floor. So the roofing on the real house is about half the height of a regular wall height in The Sims. So I had to figure out how to put a roof on a half wall, which is very tedious and very difficult. So if you can take anything away from this video, is practice doing this first, doing a half wall, a roof on a half wall first before actually attempting to do it in a real build, just so you can understand and feel how difficult and tedious that it is to do. I would not really recommend doing this if you don't want to spend a lot of time and a lot of just annoying, like difficult, frustrating time working on the roof. I would not recommend doing this. In regards to that, I will have a video coming out relatively soon that does go over how to do a roof on a half wall. Again, it is very tedious, so I figured I would make another video, just video tutorial showing everyone how to do this. Kate Emerald does have an amazing tutorial about this. Definitely check that out as well. But I think that I definitely came across a few hiccups in this build that I don't think that she mentions in her tutorial. So I wanted to just do something that if someone tries to do a roof on a half wall, they'll see different kind of troubleshooting things that you might encounter. So I wanted to make a video kind of addressing just things that I ran into, problems that I faced doing this roofing. One of the big ones, which is why you're gonna see like throughout this video that the roof is there. I did cut out the roofing section until the very end, because one of the main things is that if you're going to do a roof on a half wall, anytime that you add a wall on the inside of the house, it will remove the roof. So this is an important thing to remember if you download this house and lot from the gallery, is that if you change any of the walls on the inside of the house, of the main house, if you touch the barn at all, that will be fine. It's a completely separate house, so you don't have to worry about the roof on that. It's also just a basic gabled roof, so who can't do that. But it's just a disclaimer to anyone that downloads this off the gallery. If you change any of the walls on the inside of the house, it will remove the roof, and you don't want to do that because the roof is very tedious and annoying to put on. So just be aware of that. Obviously, if you want to remove the roof, add a second floor, a full-on second floor, redo the roofing, go for it, no problem here. But just be aware if you want to play with this house the way that it is, that I have it up on the gallery, just be aware that if you remove or change any of the walls on the inside of the house, it will remove the roof. And that is not fun. It happened multiple times for me. That's why it was so frustrating. So that's why at the end of this video, you'll see me actually doing the roof, because I did the entire inside. I did basically the entire build, and when it was finished and I was content with how everything was looking, that is when I did the roofing, because that needed to be the last thing added. Because if I tried to do a bathroom and I wanted to, change the size of the bathroom halfway through when I already had the roof, I'd have to redo the roof yet again, which is very frustrating. So definitely just be aware of that. One thing I will also mention, if you're a Pet Sematary stan, I don't know if there's stands for Pet Sematary, the roof, because I had to end up doing it so many times, I ended up kind of doing it from memory. At first, I had a reference picture of the house. I was also on Google Maps, like Google Earth view from above, so I knew the shape of the roof. So because I did it like 1, 2, or 3 times, I thought that I knew what it looked like. So the final product of the roof is actually a little different than the real house. This was just a mistake on my part. I would change it, but I do not have the patience to do this roof again. There are many things that I would change about the roofing. There are ideas that I have to actually create a functional second floor, but as it is as it is. But if you follow me on the gallery, EAID cinderxblocks, in the future I might have a version 2 of this where it's kind of updated and there is a second floor, so just look out for that. I'll definitely mention that in a video if that were to occur. But anyway, so that's enough about the roofing. So we're doing this landscaping now. So there's obviously, if you've used terrain tools before, you didn't realize that it does put the terrain on a slope away from the wall, so there's this weird gap. So I was trying to figure out how I can make this disappear. I end up just putting lots of landscaping plants and bushes and whatever, and then I pop down just a evergreen tree right in that corner so it blocks the view to see that there's this weird gap next to the building, so right there. um, so I do this for this section right next to the garage area, and then I also do it on the whole back section of the barn, just because I mean I could have left it, but I mean that is not what houses look like in the real world. So yeah, so I wanted to just create it, make it look as just put together as possible. And yeah, another issue I'll mention is just with the staircase. It is one tile too low, I think, too low or high, I forget, for the foundation pieces. So the railings on the flat parts do actually cut into the railings on the stairs. This could easily be adjusted. I just caught it right at the end, and I don't think it takes away from it, and it's not super noticeable, so I just wanted to leave it in. But yeah, one of my favorite aspects actually is part of the barn here. So you'll see on the front part of the barn, on the left side, there's this wood paneling. So on the real house, it's actually a sliding door. It's this huge sliding door on the barn with a window on it. So I was actually really excited because I was able to get just half of the front of the barn with the, I'm not even sure what they're called, that, like, I don't know, it's that, I wish I knew what it was called, but it's like this thick part that you can put like around like a foundation piece. I don't know what that's called, but it's on there, so it kind of, to me, does give that effect that it looks like it could be a sliding door. I also I don't know if it's featured here, I might have added it when I was doing the inside, but I do put that really random, I haven't really explored the world from Snowy Escape, so it might not be super random, but there's that that wall chain hanging thing from Snowy Escape. I don't know what that would ever be used for in a build, but for whatever reason it actually worked really well for this barn. So it kind of gives that idea that it's like a pull chain to open the sliding door. Obviously it's not actually a sliding door, but it's kind of gives that effect to me. So also mention right now, so this tree swing is a CC item. This is the only custom content featured in this entire build. If you download this off the gallery and you don't have this tree swing, you'll be totally fine. The only reason I added the tree swing is because in the beginning of Pet Sematary, the daughter runs over and falls off, or the tire swing breaks and she hurts herself. So I thought that would be cool to have a tree swing. I will have a link to this to download that tree swing in the description below, as well as all my social links, all of my gallery ID information, and anything like that is in the description below. And as always, I have all my packs that I have installed listed in the description. This build, I did actually purchase a bundle of Cats and Dogs, Laundry Day, and Outdoor Retreat. This was purposeful for this build specifically because I wanted to include laundry, and I wanted the Outdoor Retreat stuff because it has that kind of westerny vintage feel, which I thought would work perfect for this house. And obviously had to get Cats and Dogs because this is a build inspired by Pet Sematary, so we obviously needed to have some pet stuff throughout the build. And if you're wondering why there's not actually a Pet Sematary included in this build, I could have done a 64x64 lot and added a small Pet Sematary somewhere. The reason for that is because I don't have vampires, and I did not want to purchase vampires for this build, because Vampire Pack has all of those additional tombstones that you can place on the lot that are not associated with any particular sim. So I would want to have that to actually do a Pet Sematary. But the purpose of this build, of course, was I was very inspired by the house itself and not so much by the cemetery. So that's the main focus of this, is the house and not the actual cemetery. I'm sure you just search Pet Sematary Sims 4 on YouTube and you can find a handful of people who've actually done a Pet Sematary. I don't think I saw one that was actually inspired by the film itself, but I mean, you get the idea. It's just kind of a spiral of gravestones. Pretty basic. I mean, it would have been cool to include here, but I think that my idea, the way that I decided to go about it, works better for how I wanted this build to go. So I did add like a bunch of trees in the backyard, which don't exist in the real house, but that kind of is to kind of simulate that that pathway that leads you to the Pet Cemetery that's featured in the film. So it's kind of like you're going through this like foresty area. So that's kind of what that idea is for that. But yes, so we're just going around adding some more landscaping stuff. I didn't want to go super overboard with the landscaping. I keep most of the terrain paint exactly the same. Of course, I just add some dirt terrain paint around where there's grass and trees and stuff, just to make it a little more realistic. But in terms of everything else, I keep it very plain. I didn't want to have too many like outdoor items, so I have like the tree swing, and then I also put a jungle gym there, and then in the back section I have just 2 picnic tables and a grill. So that's really the base that I wanted to have. I didn't want to do any real seating areas outside or any, I don't know, just anything. I just wanted to keep the outside very basic and very just focused on the structure and the look of the home itself. So, and I think I accomplished that. I did what I could, but I didn't want to leave it too barren. Like the actual house, of course, the actual house in the real world is very pretty and very beautiful, but there isn't very many trees directly around the house. So, because it's The Sims, I mean, who doesn't landscape in The Sims? So I just wanted to add a couple things here and there just to kind of pull it more together and just create a little bit more of a, just of a cohesion, you know. Kind of bring a real world thing into The Sims. There's certain things that you want to include just to kind of not really lose that effect of The Sims. It's kind of like Alpha CC, how it kind of pulls you out of The Sims animation world and it's like too realistic. I don't know. But Alpha CC versus Maxis Match would be topic for a completely different video. But yeah, so here we are moving on to the roofing. I will mention first that I do have to click and drag the roofs like this to fit them over the half walls. So that's what the main reason why it's so tedious to do, is because you cannot just place a roof on a half wall. It does not work like that. So you have to drag it off of a foundation piece completely. So it's just hovering in the air at the height that you need, and then pull it and just change it so that it fits to what you're looking for. So that is why it is so tedious. I also use a handful of different roof pieces to get this effect where there's kind of a bit of a where the roof kind of comes in underneath the gabled roof section. So you'll see I'll add one of those. It's like the flat, I don't know, it's like the 3, you'll see. It's like I add these 1 square roof pieces just to complement both sides, so that it adds a little bit to like the left of that window where it has that little bit of a roof piece that comes into it and under the window a little bit. So I did want to have that. That is a main function of the main house, so I definitely wanted to include that. This is when I'm realizing that the half wall that I chose to do is too short. I did change the half wall, I think 3 different times. And for whatever reason, I just picked the wrong height the last time. So you'll notice in the front of the house, the roof trim is literally touching these first floor roofs, these flat roof, which is not what I wanted to happen. I wanted there to be a little bit of a space where you can see the half wall. Unfortunately, it did not work out that way. And because the roofing is so tedious, I just was like, fuck it, I'll just leave it. It's fine. It still gives the effect. Not everything has to be 100% accurate to the real world house. So that's why it's inspired by, not the exact duplication. But overall, I'm extremely pleased with how this house came out. I mean, this was hours and hours and hours of work, and literally just on the outside, I think it was maybe 3.5 hours just on the outside. So I am a slow builder, especially when it comes to something so intricate like this. So that is basically the main purpose. But yeah, so we're moving into the end here. So when it shows the screenshots, you're going to get a little preview of the inside. But until Wednesday is when the inside is coming. Enjoy this little outro and a little sneak peek. So until then, I hope that you all have an amazing day.